All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7:35. We're going to call this meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we please remain standing for one moment, a moment of silence for those who serve bravely and valiantly. Thank you. Please be seated. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Today's date, what is today's date? August 3rd. Notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals of the Village of Suffern will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, August 3rd, 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as possible at Suffern Village Hall, 61 Washington Avenue, Suffern, New York, 10901, on an appeal by 155 Lafayette Avenue, LLC, of M. Weiss of 11 Wiener Drive, Unit 202, Muncie, New York, 10952, to permit the construction, maintenance, and use of an enlarged driveway at 155 Lafayette Drive, Suffern, New York. The approval of such an appeal requires a variance from the requirements of Section 266-23, Column 9. The applicant is proposing development coverage of 46.4% from the required 35%. Note that there is an existing 43.42% existing coverage. Premises affected are situated on the south side of Lafayette Avenue, on the west side of Riverside Drive. The property is listed on the Village of Suffern and Town of Ramapo tax maps as Section 54.36, Block 1, Lot number 24. Is the applicant here? Please step to the podium. Ma'am, please step to the podium, speak into the microphone.
I am formally the applicant because I signed the papers, but we have the owner of the property here.
Okay, who will be speaking tonight?
We probably will be both speaking tonight.
Okay. I'm just going to ask you to speak up because it's a little hard for us to hear you.
And her name also.
Yes, and I need your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Hannah Cogan, and my address is 24 John Leaf Lane in Chestnut Ridge, New York.
Thank you. Ms. Cogan, what brings you here tonight?
Swear.
I'm sorry. Would you please raise your right hand?
I cannot swear.
Or affirm.
Okay. Can you affirm,
Under penalty of perjury.
under penalty of perjury, that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir, I can.
Thank you. Have I missed anything else?
That's good.
And I appreciate it.
You're
Thank
good.
you. Ms. Cogan, what can we do for you tonight?
I am the manager and the applicant on the property at 155 Lafayette.
Be closer to the microphone.
Even closer?
Yes, that's better. We can't hear you.
You want
too
me to
much.
just come up there and speak
No, that's
without?
good, that's good. Go ahead.
Okay. I hope I won't eat it.
Much better.
Anyhow, being that the parking is very tight in the village, and the property is situated in a very busy intersection, we find that the parking area is very inadequate for the needs of this building. Also, it is known to everybody since those driveways have been constructed, the amount of cars per family member probably quadrupled over the past 15-20 years. So it is very difficult to have and find tenants, and it's very difficult for the tenants. We have made a very small enlargement in the hope that the village will understand. This being said, I would like to point out something to your honors, and that is we understand that the rules and regulations in the village are there for a reason, and we understand that we have to do our best to comply with those same rules and regulations. So I want to digress a little bit and talk to you very briefly about something which is called property development right transfer. This is a situation when, say, an owner of two parcels that are situated in different locations would want to develop one of them more than allowed by the municipal regulations, and in exchange the other one will be less developed. So I just want to bring to your attention
Hold on.
So you gotta talk into the
Ma'am,
mic
we
so
need
we
you
can
to
be
speak
recorded.
into the mic
You
because
can-
everything's being recorded. You can hand this to us, but whatever you're saying, we please need you to say from the podium.
So I made those little pictures and sketches. These are the plans. On the first page, you will find the plan of the property in question. The lot area is approximately 6,250 square feet. And the development proposed, which means the house, the garage, the driveway, the walkway, is about 2,900 square feet. And that is 46.4%, which is way above the allowed, the permitted coverage. Now, if you turn the next page, you will see here the plot plan of the property right next door at 153 Lafayette, belonging to the same owner. This property is approximately 14,800 square feet, but the development, the only thing that's standing on it is a two-story house. So the development square footage of the developed part is approximately 1,200 square feet. So the third page, if you combine those numbers, you will realize immediately that the combined square footage of the two parcels is a little over 21,000 square feet, but the combined development is about 4,100. So if you look at those two properties together, what he's asking is to develop those, if you look at them together, to develop them to the extent of 19.5% approximately development ratio. So I know it is kind of an unusual take, but this combined with the fact that there is real need, I'm hoping that the village board will find a way to look at this leniently, because he does own next door property, which is largely undeveloped. And, you know, if you look at those two properties together, the development is under 20%, which is way below the 35% cutoff ratio.
Thank you for the submission. Thank you for what you're saying. Are there any of the board members that have any questions or any comments to make?
I don't understand what the lot next door has anything to do with this.
Please, Lisa, speak. Yeah.
I don't understand what, do you own both of these parcels?
I do not own either one of them, but the owner right here owns both of those parcels, yes. That is correct.
How many tenants are in the 155 location?
Mr. Owner, how many tenants are there?
Barely.
I'm sorry, sir.
No.
Well,
how
she-
many
she's-
tenants?
she's
How
just
many
asking.
apartments?
It's a two legal,
name and
it's a...
Sir, can you state your name and address for the record?
Mordechai Weiss, 11 Wiener Drive, Muncie, New York, 10952.
Okay.
Did you
can
say Mordecai Weiss?
Mordechai.
And can you, if you cannot raise your hand, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
So it's a legal two-unit apartment. The attic was finished before, and it's being used as a third unit, which I'm currently dealing with that, with the tenant. There's a tenant there, so I just can't. But about the two other units, one is a two-bedroom and one is a one-bedroom, and together it's at least four people, so we have 4 cars. The old driveway was for 2 cars. And today's days, like there's a father and mother, both have cars. I didn't do it for myself, I did it for the tenants. They asked tirelessly, there's no way to park on neither street. You can't park on Lafayette, and you can't park on Riverside, which is corner of Lafayette. So there's been no way that they should park. And today's days, everyone has cars. So this is what I ask. It's a tiny, another warm parking space that we added. And as Hannah said, I do own the next property, which is way underdeveloped from the 35% allowed. So if you look at it as combined, I would ask your honors to permit this extension.
Okay, Mr. Weiss, I'd like to follow up on Mr. Zavoski's question. You've told us how many bedrooms are in each unit. You've not told us how many people are in each unit.
Let me talk to Hannah a second, because I know the man. So together is in the first 2 floors is 7 people. The upstairs is 1 or 2. So it's together 7 people. I believe the 2 of them are kids. So a total of 5 adults and 2 children. This is what I understand.
I'm not a board member, but I had a question.
Okay. Our attorney, who is not a voting board member, does have a question for you.
Sure.
So did you say there's somebody occupying the attic?
There is somebody occupying an attic.
Okay, and that's not, you know that that's not permitted,
I
right?
do know, and we're about to tackle it. I mean, there's tenants there, so...
There's what?
There's tenants that we're gonna have to get out.
Okay, are they paying rent to you, or they pay
They're
rent?
paying rent to me, yes.
Oh, this came about because of code enforcement?
Correct.
Okay. And you know you've been doing court, but missed some court dates, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so the next court date is, do you know when the next court date is?
29?
Well, no, not for you, it's not the 8th.
I believe.
It's not the 8th.
Yes, the 29th, yeah.
The 29th, okay, so you're
I am
committing to be in court on the 29th, all right. Before the 29th, are you going to have them inspect, or, I mean, what's your intention with the witness?
We have inspected, I believe those 2 gentlemen sitting there are the ones who inspected the first floor apartment. It was found that the bedrooms are such size that one of them can accommodate 2 adults, 2 people, as per New York State Code, and the other one can accommodate 1. Then we had a discussion about the common area of the apartment, and we had a disagreement which is still standing, and the disagreement was as follows. The building inspector came to measure the kitchen floor area, and they insisted on skipping the areas occupied by appliances, sinks, and cabinets of the kitchen, and their number came very low. Well, I've since researched that topic, and I found that nowhere in New York State or federal building codes and regulations and definitions is the floor ratio of any room, including kitchen, calculated excluding any installed fixtures, furniture, etc. So I have appraised, I have written an email to the building inspector regarding that, and I stated our understanding.
All right, well,
And I have not gotten the response.
all right, well, that's a separate issue on that, but, so the attic, how many people are in the attic, are renting the attic?
The people about the attic. So in the attic are people whom we cannot get out. I have never gotten any request to inspect the attic from the inspector. If and when he will ask me, I will obviously ask the owner and do what the owner instructs me to do.
Okay, but do you know how many people are in the attic? How many tenants in the attic?
There is a lady, she may have her boyfriend coming up once in a while, but there is a single lady there.
One person and
Yeah, that's the I'm dealing with.
Okay.
As a pain in the neck, I would love her to go and this would become a one
Are-
apartment, but it's just impossible to get out.
Okay, so is he okay, are you okay, sir, with the code enforcement officers, having them take a look to,
I cannot assure that the tenants will cooperate, because we already tried to speak to them. We want to get them out and make both floors together as one apartment, because it's only legal 2-unit building. So from my end, I'm fine.
okay. I'm sorry, I have one other, the next door property you said you own, correct?
I own 153
And
Lafayette.
what's there currently?
What?
What is currently there?
So I bought it from someone that bought it from a foreclosure. There's two, and we actually had yesterday or 2 days ago, we had,
I mean, what type of building? Like
oh, so it's also 2 units.
two-family?
2-family. There's 1 unit in the first floor and 1 unit in the second and third floors. It's a very similar house. It's like, I would say, built the same time and the same layout. But that property, the land is way bigger. The 153 is way bigger lot than 155.
Okay. Ms. Wilson, was there anything else you wanted to say?
First, I'd like the microphone to work. Okay, first of all, each property has to stand on its own merit, its own area, its own coverage. The lot next door, unless it was a parking lot, that wouldn't help you out. My next question is, you have a garage here with 2 spaces. What's happening in there?
The garage cannot fit a normal car.
I can't hear you.
In the garage, it cannot fit a normal car, so it's used for storage, basically.
Ma'am?
Okay, well, you're trying to come in and ask us to...
Let me answer both questions to the best of my ability, ma'am, if I could. Yes, there are 2 garage spaces. The tenants have very little storage, especially the tenants on the second floor. So the garages are pretty much full of their stuff. And even if they were not full of this stuff, the only thing you can fit on those garages is a compact car. Like Toyota Corolla would probably be the biggest. And they are working people. They have, many of them work in construction. Like they have big trucks. They don't fit in there. That's number 1. Number 2, you asked me about the driveway at 153. There is no pavement anywhere at 153.
I understand what
It's
you're saying,
gravel.
but-
No pavement coverage.
In the beginning, when we didn't have this additional driveway, I drove through a lot of times property, and there was a car parked in the garage open, and the car coming out of the garage. And this is like they had a pickup truck, and it didn't fit in entirely, so they had the front in the garage and the garage open. And I didn't believe this is the way that they can park. So that's the reason why we basically needed another 1 parking space. It's still not enough, but there's
Okay,
one more
well,
space.
you're asking us to provide you with more coverage to allow for more parking, but you have a perfectly good standing garage here that would park 2 cars.
Not cars that the tenants need. Not the type of cars that the tenants have.
Well, okay.
So, yeah. So again, this picture that you have already has this additional parking.
I see that.
You're aware of that?
So you put the driveway in without a permit to
Correct.
begin with,
I was-
that's
yeah.
correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Thank you, Lisa. That was my question. Thank you.
Mr. Adwar, is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, everything's been addressed. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple of comments. I will grant that it is a novel argument you make with the 2 properties, but our role here is to make a decision about the property in question, which is 155. I don't know that it is appropriate for us to include any other property. So that gets us back to the 46.4 as you have submitted, which, as Ms. Wilson pointed out, you are already over the allowed coverage. And you've just admitted that you did it without permission. I think there are a lot of people in this village that would find that problematic. The other thing, again, and I'll defer to Ms. Wilson, as she points out, there is a perfectly good garage there. If it does not fit the vehicles that your tenants drive, that is not a question that this board can or ought to address. There is a garage there. If it doesn't suit the needs of your tenants, that, sir, is between you as the property owner and your tenants. Also, you did say, or Ms. Cogan did say, that you're in the process of having these tenants removed so that you could convert the space to 1 two-unit home as opposed to two single residences. If that's the case, then the vehicles that your tenants drive really doesn't matter because they won't be there for much longer, will they? Please.
Our plans, if we're gonna be successful to get that tenant out, so that means that we get another 1 or 2 bedrooms there. It means that we're gonna have more people, so I don't see any difference in cars, that should be anything different in
Okay.
the amount of cars.
Speaking of the bedrooms, as the attorney did point out, and as you did point out, it is, the first floor is registered as a one-bedroom unit. It has come to our attention that there currently are 3 bedrooms in that unit.
Okay.
Without permits, without building permits, without any check on codes or anything else like that. If there was only 1 bedroom there, that mitigates the need for the extra parking.
The tenants used the living room as a bedroom without our permission, and we're very straightforward with them, it's in the lease, that they cannot use that as a bedroom. So, and even, let's say, I have to see what you're talking about, that it's a 1 bedroom, but even 1 bedroom, you have two adults living there, you'll have 2 cars. That's 1 apartment. And the opposite apartment, it's for sure, it's bigger, so that's for sure 2 bedroom, and so you already have 4 cars, and there's only space for 2 cars there. And the garage again is a very, very small, tiny garage. And if let's say I'll come to ask to make the garage bigger, you also won't allow me because it's more than the permitted. So let's go like that. It was an addition of 6 by 9 foot, 1 parking space for the tenant that should be able to park another car. Different than a lot of other places in Suffern, this particular property is in a place where you cannot park on the street and neither of the street. So basically there's no other parking spaces there. So I believe it's just reasonable to just allow this tiny small addition to this property. It doesn't affect how the property looks, it doesn't affect how the property, the feel of the property. It's a tiny addition, which I feel is just reasonable. I mean, if like that on a street where you can have parking on the sides, this side, then I hear there's something, but over here basically there's no other solution. There's no parking there. And even when Hannah comes or I come, we have to go find the parking at a restaurant or somewhere else because we cannot park on the street. So it's basically locked in these 2 spaces. So I think it's just reasonable. I understand it's from 35% to 46%, which is a 10% difference, but I believe that it's just reasonable. But it's up to you, of course.
Okay, your comment is noted. I also wanted to bring up some other things from your paperwork, from your applications. We can start with the Rockland County Drainage Agency, which said your paperwork was lacking information, and although they do have a position to take on this, they could not weigh in because you, meaning the applicant, I don't know which one of you or if somebody else filled out the paperwork, did not fill it out properly or to the extent needed for the Rockland County Drainage Agency to make a final determination about whether they would agree or disagree with your plan. I don't know that it is appropriate for myself. I cannot speak for anybody else on this board. I don't know that it would be appropriate for us to decide something without all of the relevant bodies weighing in. The Rockland County Drainage Agency, I think the Highway Department, there was at least 1 or 2 other ones that had some, not objection, but said they could not decide because they were not given all of the information they needed.
Yes, I hear that, and I actually had a very hard time understanding his comment. There was something about environmental statements that the rattlesnakes are going to be affected by this extension of the pavement, And what I did, I actually probably did the wrong thing, but I'll just tell you what I did because that's what I did. I called the village clerk and I said, Melissa, what am I going to do with it? I don't know. To the best of my understanding, there are no rattlesnakes on this property, and if there were any rattlesnakes, they would probably be killed immediately because they are danger to the people. And she told me, you know what, you are going in front of the board and let the board decide, and if they have problems with how you filled up about environmentals, you can fix it up later. So I just really had a hard time understanding where they're coming from about environmentals. Apparently there are databases that I should be more aware of, and I am ready to work on it if I am directed in the right directions, absolutely. But I filled out what I understand about the property. I'm on this property very, very often. I do believe I am familiar with the wildlife that's on this property, but if it is written in the reference code that, you know, there are rattlesnakes, for example, there, then we will put that there are rattlesnakes. I'm ready to work with them.
I'm going to paraphrase now, but the letter from the Rockland County Drainage Agency said, if you use the form on our website, if you follow all the instructions on our website, all of the questions would be answered, and it would allow them to make their determination. Have you done that?
Yes, I printed off the form, and I filled it up. That's what they told me to do.
We have not gotten any communication from the Rockland County Drainage Agency.
Is it drainage or planning?
I kind of disagree with you.
Okay, I'm
The
sorry.
drainage agency did make a statement about the fact that we're trying to vote on development coverage.
Can I see them?
And by allowing development coverage to exceed the amount that's allowed, we're setting a precedent. She expands her driveway, now the next guy down the street wants to expand the driveway, and on and on and on. And that's what we're trying to prevent. They made the comment that even though the application is lacking in many ways, this one, they made the comment that permitting an extensive development coverage is setting a bad precedent.
They did. There was another section, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in my
Okay.
paperwork in front of me, that specifically said, we have a very simple path on our website, and if it's all filled out, all the questions are answered.
Yeah, I think you're, this is county planning. That's number
Sorry,
4
not
in
drainage,
county planning, not the county drainage agency. It's county planning.
Okay.
Well, all I can say is that I am certainly willing and able to do whatever is required of me. I did not understand where else to go. I filled up the application that I got to the best of my ability, and I am ready to make amends. I am more than willing. I was unaware. I guess reaching out to Mrs. Reimer was the wrong way to reach out, but just was a little lost with... there was a long letter, and part of it I did not understand what they want. I will be honest with you. I guess if you don't deal with environmental issues all the time, you may be lost a little bit, which is what happened to me.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody else on the board have any questions or comments? Seeing as that is a no, would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to disapprove.
Well, before we do that, I'm just going to go through the criteria, and if you're going to disapprove it, just keep these in mind. The Board of Appeals has to consider the balance, the benefit to the applicant against any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the community, and in doing that, consider whether the benefit can be achieved by other means feasible to the applicant, whether there will be an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or nearby properties, whether the requested variance is substantial, whether they will have an adverse physical or environmental impact, and whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, although self-created is not necessarily precluded. So that's generally where you're at. But I'm sorry, go ahead with your motion, Ms. Wilson.
I make a motion to disapprove.
Okay, a motion's been put forth to disapprove the application. Is there a second?
Mr. Adwar?
And
Mr. Adwar seconds. Yes, Mr. Magrino?
I would just ask, the bases, you should put on the record what your reasonings are for
I
motion.
feel like the applicant is allowing the building to be overpopulated. They have a garage with accessible parking spaces that they could manage, or they could specify that the renters in the future have less cars. I mean, it's, you know, you have to meet the criteria. If you want to rent as a apartment, you have to have either one car, or you have to have a car small enough that it'll fit in the garage, or what have you. The parking situation on Lafayette and the parking situation on Riverside is not something new, and I'm sure that was the case when the house was purchased. So you had to have realized that what parking was there was all that was going to be available. You're allowing too many people to live in the house. I don't think that the Village of Suffern should allow more pavement to be added because the house is being overpopulated.
Yeah, so, and again, just going back, the question is, you know, the board would have to decide or determine if there was an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood by granting it, whether it's substantial, whether the request would have an adverse physical or environmental impact, again, whether it's self-created. Those are the criteria that have to be evaluated, so.
I think we're setting a precedent that we're going to allow everybody to make their driveways bigger.
Not only that, I'm concerned about the runoff on the property with all that asphalt. So from an environmental perspective, I would have a concern.
Yeah,
I agree with both of you.
the river's right behind them.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. All in favor of disallowing the application, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That is it. Okay, thank you. Please.
So, I do management of properties, and I am dealing with a number of different municipalities, villages, and towns. I must comment for the future. I understand that I'm being recorded, and that's why I'm making this comment. I don't think it will make any dent in anybody over here. So the municipality, the village, the town can choose to be user-friendly or otherwise. One of the ways that municipalities choose to be more user-friendly and tenant and property owner-friendly is that if there is kind of a very tight building, which is the case in many old developments like Nyack, Haverstraw, Suffern, etc., there usually is a more relaxed approach to the street parking. This is approach, for example, that Nyack took. The other thing that the municipality can do is to take a little more relaxed approach to the parking on the property. When municipality does neither one of them, that municipality is very much discouraging the population, and that may be a problem. It's a big problem. I stay my case.
Please.
First, I want to thank you for your time for evaluating. I just want to take one comment. It was this application like this was sent to a lot of people in the area. I don't know, 500? A lot of neighbors. No one showed up. No one showed up. And that says that the will of the people is that such minor stuff, it's not like building a house, building something. It's a minor 6 by 9 foot thing. This empty hall tells us that the people living in the area there are not against this, and they have no issue with that. So I'm just saying I'm a bit shocked of what I understand from where you're coming and the concern. People will just start building out and everything. But as someone that owns quite like not only those two, like more in Suffern, I try to be a good landlord. I try to keep my properties, keep up the properties, and I was just waiting that the village would just be kind and just minor from 43% to 46% ratio. But this is what I can count. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
I'll adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Oh, the minutes.
Our next order of business is to adopt the minutes of the meeting of March 30th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Somebody want to make a motion on that?
Motion to adopt?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Adwar.
Okay. Any discussion about the minutes?
Does this man come back?
Sorry?
Melissa, have you heard back from this guy, Landau?
No, I have not. I know that he's foiling some things from the building department. I've seen the foils come in, and he's asking for a bunch of documents in order to get things ready, perhaps. So I've seen that come in, but I haven't heard anything. He hasn't come back with any documents for us for me to send out to the entities.
Okay. Motion on the table. All in favor of adopting the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No? All right. Is there any old business to discuss? Is there any new business to discuss? Seeing as those are both no's, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
You want to set the next
Yes.
date?
Our next meeting, I do not think we're meeting again in August. So I have on my calendar Thursday, September 21. Does that look for everyone?
Good.
Good.
Andrew? Okay. Seeing as that is accepted by everyone, motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a good night.